America poured nearly $2 trillion into a single aircraft program. Dozens of those jets sit idle on ramps. Israel took the same airframe, reshaped its support, and, in this imagined account, 90% of its fleet flies combat missions every day. Same machine, different outcomes. In October 2025 operation, Israeli F-35s pushed 2,000 kilometers into hostile airspace, neutralized advanced Russian-made S-300 networks, and returned without a scratch. Meanwhile, across the ocean, many American F-35s wait for parts, patches, and permission. This isn't just about money or microchips. It's what happens when top-tier hardware meets organizational reality.
Before we go deeper, quick question for the comments. If you believe political will and operational urgency can turn expensive platforms into lethal tools, type yes. I'll be reading every reply. And real quick, if you like deep military breakdowns told like a thriller, hit subscribe and smash that like button. Now, let's get into why, in this scenario, the same jet produced two very different outcomes.
The raw numbers catch your attention because they're unforgiving. Picture one Air Force where barely half the jets are mission ready on any given day. Picture another where almost the entire fleet is available whenever the commander calls. That gap isn't a rounding error, it's a strategic cliff. Aircraft don't fight by themselves. They are systems of people, parts, software, doctrine, and culture. The hull and stealth are only part of the equation. In our story, one program built a giant centralized logistics brain, a global cloud designed to automate parts ordering, predict failures, and coordinate maintenance. On paper, it promised efficiencies, fewer redundant inventories, streamlined depot work, unified data. But centralization introduced single points of failure. When the cloud hiccuped or depots backed up, jets waited. When vendors went on backorder, aircraft sat. The system's elegance in peacetime became brittleness under pressure.
By contrast, the smaller operator refused to turn its fate over to a distant server. They negotiated operational autonomy, the political authority to perform depot-level maintenance domestically, to install custom mission software, and to produce parts locally. That independence changed everything. The F-35 airframe remained the same, but the ecosystem around it was radically different. The modifications were surgical. First, electronic warfare. The baseline EW stack was world-class, but our operator wanted the suite tuned to the actual threats they faced in their region. Domestic firms built an EW package optimized against the radar and emitter profiles common in neighboring theaters. Adaptive jamming, rapid library updates, and emitters that could be reprogrammed between missions. The effect? The jets didn't just hide, they actively confused and suppressed enemy sensors the moment they entered contested airspace. Second, range and endurance. The easiest solution for reach is tankers or external tanks, but both come at a cost: logistical complexity or degraded stealth. The operator developed conformal fuel tanks that integrated with the airframe, maintained low observability, and extended range enough to remove the need for complex tanker choreography on many missions. Suddenly, distant options became tactical realities.
Third, open mission architecture. They reworked the mission computer into a plug-and-play hub where weapons, data links, and mission apps could be swapped and validated rapidly. Instead of waiting months or years for contractor-sanctioned updates, fielded software patches could appear in days. When a new radar mode showed up on the threat list, the countermeasure went to the jets on the next maintenance cycle, not the next fiscal year. Fourth, relentless maintenance tempo. Where some organizations trimmed inventories to chase efficiency, this operator prioritized sortie generation. Depots ran 3 shifts, fabrication bays printed brackets and housings as needed, logisticians accepted higher short-term expense to keep jets flying. When 5 aircraft were non-operational at the start of a conflict, 4 were returned to service in days, a difference that reads small on spreadsheets and huge in the sky. These choices produced an operation that, in our alternate history telling, stunned regional observers. A deep strike late in October placed advanced S-300 engagement radars out of action across multiple sites. The package led with modified F-35Is whose combined stealth, EW, and sensor fusion peeled open the airspace. F-15s and F-16s followed, exploiting the access the F-35s created. Imagery afterward showed several engagement radars destroyed or rendered mute. Not a single strike aircraft was lost. The strike did more than remove a defensive layer, it changed assumptions about layered air defenses. Contrast the cinematic result with routine readiness debates. In large defense bureaucracies, problems are framed with statistics, multi-year plans, and budgeted fixes. Committees create requirements, contractors bid, and change happens on the calendar of approvals. In our story, the smaller force moved on the calendar of operations. If pilots needed more flying time, the system made it happen. If a countermeasure was missing, engineers pushed to fix overnight. The central insight here is that technology is necessary but not sufficient. A world-class airframe can be marginal in combat if the support ecosystem is brittle. Centralized sustainment gives economies until war compresses time and exposes supply chain fragility, single suppliers, lean inventories, and depot bottlenecks. High-tempo conflict rewards the ability to improvise, to print a bracket at the base, to cannibalize a non-critical component, to accept higher immediate costs to keep the mission alive.
Training magnifies this effect. In the cinematic account, pilots in the high readiness force flew constantly. Flying breeds instinct, confidence, and rapid TTP iteration. Pilots who sit in simulators lose certain instincts, the feel of the jet, the tiny timing that separates survival from catastrophe. Surge flying hours produced not only seasoned pilots, but a feedback loop. Pilots reported new emitter modes, EW teams adjusted code, maintainers solved practical problems, and sorties evolved in days, not years. Electronic warfare deserves a close-up. Modern integrated air defenses are networks, radars, command nodes, engagement sites, and trained operators. The fictional operator's approach combines stealth with active jamming and sensor deception. During the strike, defenders detected emissions but could not develop an accurate track or create a reliable handoff to an interceptor. The defenders sensed the presence but could not lock a geometry. That perception gap is lethal. Hesitation gives attackers seconds that become corridors of access. Of course, there are trade-offs. Independence from centralized sustainment invites security risks. Bespoke software needs hardened cyber defenses. Local manufacturing must meet stringent standards. Independent upgrades can create interoperability headaches with coalition partners. The fictional operator accepted those risks because their strategic reality demanded speed. A small nation surrounded by multiple threats cannot afford a multi-year approval cycle when the missile is inbound today. Culture, more than hardware, explains much of the difference. Large procurement processes are designed to minimize catastrophic mistakes across enormous budgets. That reduces some risks, but also dampens nimble experimentation. Smaller forces tolerate higher operational risk to capture first-mover advantages. Try, fail, fix, repeat. In the world of rapid adaptation, being first can outweigh the cost of early mistakes. Cost is blunt but revealing. The sky-high price tag of an air program hides a deeper question. How effectively does spending translate into combat-ready sorties? One country might spend more per jet but have fewer available when the crisis hits. Another, spending smarter on local sustainment and training, squeezes more readiness out of fewer airframes.
Another human factor: prioritize readiness over accounting. When maintainers are empowered to fabricate missing parts or cannibalize a low-priority asset in the interest of keeping a straight package whole, missions launch. That ethos, maintenance empowered, logisticians given operational leeway, commanders focused on effects rather than ledger entries, converts expensive hardware beyond its sticker price. There's also the intelligence integration piece. Success against advanced SAMs isn't a single kick punch, it's orchestration. Pre-mission intelligence, EW shaping, feint and kinetic strikes, follow-on suppression. In this narrative, F-35s functioned as the electromagnetic conductor, shaping the battle space so strike aircraft could finish the job. That orchestration is a product of doctrine as much as tech. Now imagine the observers and the policy response. Some analysts will say this proves the platform works when supported properly. Others will warn about the risks of decentralization. Both are right. The lesson isn't a partisan swipe at one system or a full-throated endorsement of the other. It's a reminder: platforms are tools, and tools are limited by the systems that keep them ready. The operational question for big militaries is painful. How do you keep the benefits of scale while injecting enough agility for wartime tempo? If you believe political will and operational urgency can turn expensive platforms into lethal tools, type yes in the comments. If you think bureaucracy and scale still win, type no. Drop a quick line explaining why. I'll feature the best arguments in the follow-up. Outro. Two air forces, the same basic aircraft, two very different results.
In this fictional account, one fleet sits idle because systems prioritized peacetime efficiency. The other flies because it built an ecosystem designed for war. Local maintenance, fast software updates, tailored EW, and training that actually lets pilots fly. The simple lesson: advanced technology means little without the institutional structures to use and support it in the worst hours of need. If this alternate history breakdown hit the right mix of tech detail and cinematic storytelling, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dives. Want a sequel that drills into each modification, EW, conformal tanks, depot autonomy with diagrams and sources? Type sequel in the comments and I'll make it next. Also tell me, do you think large militaries can realistically adopt these small nation habits? Yes or no? I'll read every argument and answer the best. Thanks for watching, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, the next leap in conflict will be less about what you build and more about how fast you can fix, field, and fly it when the war starts.